Good evening. I'm Dr. Jennifer Love, Director of Language Access for Prince George's County Public Schools. It is truly a pleasure to welcome you this evening, and we are so grateful that you have chosen to spend at least part of your Friday evening here with us. Soy la doctora Love, directora del acceso lingüístico de las escuelas públicas del condado de Prince George. Es un placer darle la bienvenida esta noche y estamos muy agradecidos que haya elegido pasar parte de su viernes por la noche aquí con nosotros. This session tonight is an important opportunity to hear directly from our interim superintendent, Dr. Joseph, about his vision for our schools and most importantly, for you, our parents and community members, to share your questions and perspectives. We appreciate your partnership and your engagement as we work together to support the success of every student in District 9. Next slide, please. We are pleased to be able to offer interpreting services for accessibility this evening. We have interpreting available in American Sign Language. For those participants, you may pin your sign language interpreter on the screen. We also have services in Spanish and in Dari. Hay interpretación simultánea, está disponible en español y en Dari. Next slide, please. Para acceder los servicios de interpretación en una computadora, en la parte baja de la pantalla habrá un globo de interpretación. Haga clic en ese globo y seleccione Spanish. Si estás en un dispositivo móvil, en la parte baja de la pantalla, toca el icono de elipsis en la parte baja derecha. Va a tocar Language Interpretation y va a tocar Spanish. We encourage each of you to please sign in using the QR code or using the sign-in form that we will drop into the chat. We ask that you sign in so that we can keep you informed of all of the upcoming engagement opportunities, including an opportunity to be in person with your district board member and Dr. Joseph for additional engagement. Just to review, we have some session norms for the evening, and they will include practicing mutual respect as we are engaging in questions for our interim superintendent. Also, we ask that you engage transparently. We want you to ask your questions, and we know that Dr. Joseph is going to be able to answer those questions to the best of his ability. Listen for understanding and also assume positive intentions. The intention of everyone here on this Zoom this evening is for the students of Prince George's County Public Schools. We ask you also to offer suggestions rather than complaints so that we can all work collaboratively as a team to address concerns. Several things that we'd like for you to be aware of. This session this evening is being recorded and will be available on the PGCPS YouTube channel. Because it is a webinar, there will be no chat available, but instead, we encourage you to use the Q&A, question and answer feature to submit questions. Our staff will respond and send them to the interim superintendent for live response. The Q&A feature, you'll notice, is at the very bottom of your screen. For additional questions or comments, we will also provide you with another link if you'd like to follow up later. So in using the Q&A feature, what you will do is you'll click on Q&A at the bottom of your screen. It's possible that the Q&A may be hidden under the More button. If that's the case, just click More and then select Q&A. At that point, you'll type your question, and then you have the option, if you would like to send your question anonymously, you can do so. And then you'll click Send, and your question will be sent for Dr. Joseph to respond. The agenda for our session this evening will include what we're engaging in now, which is a general session welcome and some of the housekeeping. Then we look forward in just a moment to being able to welcome and turn the mic over to our interim superintendent, Dr. Sean Joseph. We will then move into some Q&A. Dr. Joseph will share with us more about his 100-day plan and the next steps for us as a school district. And then we will have our meeting closing, and we encourage you to complete the evaluation. So without further ado, I am pleased this evening to present to you Interim Superintendent Dr. Sean Joseph.
Thank you, Dr. Love, and thank you for all that you do for the system. And welcome to District 9. I tell you, District 9 has it going on. I am so excited to be here. One of the reasons, I really decided I wanted to come back to Prince George's County for a year is because we have an amazing board of education. And you, as you know already, I mean, if anybody that's read Miss Lolita's Walker's what is it, her little newsletter that goes out lets you know that she is the absolute real deal in terms of transparency, wanting to communicate effectively, and wanting to get it right for District 9. So I know we have our board member Walker here, and I'm sure she wants to say hello to you all and give you a message for this evening. So Ms. Walker, thank you for everything that you do for District 9 and Prince George's County, and I'd love for you to welcome everybody.
Oh, I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to give greetings to District 9. I'm just so proud of where it is that we are. I know that we're listening intently because although we are moving forward in Prince George's County as a whole, especially in District 9, because we show all the way up, I know that there's still some concerns. And so I do appreciate these sessions, these listening sessions. And I don't have to ask you all because we're very vocal in this district, but I know that there are some concerns. There's some bright ideas and some suggestions you have to continue us on that pathway. And I'm looking forward to hearing all of what you have to serve up tonight with our new superintendent. And I'm here for the long haul to be able to listen on this call as well and to do the work on behalf of District 9. So thank you so much, Superintendent Joseph, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much again. I mean it. If you know, superintendents have options in the country, and who you work for matters. And it was one of the biggest decision points for me in accepting this interim role was, is the board really about the work? And I believe the answer is yes. And so, here we are, knowing that there's much work to be done in Prince George's County, though we have some good things going. We definitely have work to do, and I think we've got to acknowledge that. I'll tell you a little bit about my background in case you didn't know, and then I'll jump into what I know about the great District 9, and then just open up for questions. But I got into education in 1996 as a student at Lincoln University, which is America's oldest historically Black degree granting institution. I was a medical uh, major there. I was majoring in biology, and that summer, in the summer of I guess 1995 or so, I got hired for Upward Bound, and I was supposed to be tutoring science I mean, excuse me, tutoring calculus that summer. But they needed someone to do English. So I said, why not? Easiest money I will ever make. Long story short, I met a student from South Philadelphia High School who struggled reading. And, I felt like it was one of the first times God spoke with me because it just bothered me that we can allow students to go through a whole educational system and not teach them something as fundamental as learning how to read. And so I wound up switching my major from biology to English education, and I graduated in December of 1996 with a degree in English education. And since that time, I have been an English teacher at Roberto Clemente Middle School in Germantown, Maryland, a reading specialist also at Roberto Clemente Middle School. I was a team leader and seventh grade English teacher at Kingsview Middle School up in Germantown. And then I became a dean of students at Benjamin Banneker Middle School in Burtonsville. I was an assistant principal for 3 years at Redland Middle School in Rockville, Maryland, before going back where it all started to Roberto Clemente Middle School to become their principal. Yeah, I was honored in 2009 to be the Maryland State Principal of the Year for middle schools. And then I ended up getting promoted in Montgomery County, and I supervised the Blair, Einstein, Northwood, Kennedy cluster of schools. So if Montgomery County down in that Silver Spring area. Those are the, four large schools down in Silver Spring. And I supervised the 34 schools down in that area before going off to Seaford, Delaware. If you've ever drove to Rehoboth Beach, you passed through Seaford on Route 1, where I was superintendent for 2 years. Prior to coming here to Prince George's County under the leadership of Dr. Kevin Maxwell, at that time, and he tapped me to be his deputy superintendent for teaching and learning, and what an honor it was. And that was when I first learned of how hard people work in Prince George's County. During those years, those 2 years I was here, we really worked hard. That's when we established our literacy plan for the district, and I was responsible for supporting efforts to develop the strategic plan that went for those next 4 to 5 years. We also spent a lot of time working to expand our magnet programs, our academies, and things of that nature. So that's when the international schools got in place. I remember spending a lot of time talking about the science academies down at like Duval High School, the aerospace engineering, and strengthening our Montessori programs and our gifted centers. I mean, I think that during that time, Rashawn Baker was the county executive, and they went after additional funds to support the school system and did get that increase. So those were busy times and good times, and I just was so in awe of how hard people were working to get things right for us in this district at the time. But God would have it that I went down to Nashville, Tennessee, to be superintendent there again for that second time, and I did that for 3 years. And when I left Nashville, I wound up going to New York. I'm from New York originally, from Long Island, a town called Central Islip, and Fordham University was one of those universities that you knew the really smart people went, and it just had such a great reputation. So an opportunity to go back there and teach in the doctoral program was my honor, and it was God works in mysterious ways, because that was the year my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so I feel like everything happens the way it's supposed to, because I was supposed to fly each week from Nashville to LaGuardia. Then I took a cab from LaGuardia to uh, the Lincoln Center in Manhattan, and then walked a few blocks to get to the subway, and then I'd take the subway to the Long Island Railroad, and then I'd take the Long Island Railroad to my mom's house, and then take an Uber from the train station to my mom's house, and then fly out of Long Island. I did that every single week for a full year. So for all the West Indians out there, you got a true West Indian here that's not afraid to be on his grind. And so after a year, the pandemic came, and wound up coming back into the area as a tenure track professor at Howard University. And I spent the last 5 years at Howard. I just teach in a doctoral program, and I taught ed leadership through a politics of education class, an urban education class, and an instructional technology class. And so, and then I've also supported superintendents around the country through an urban superintendents academy. So I say all of that because all of my experiences, I never forgot Gary, who was that student in South Philadelphia High School that the system didn't get it right for. And I've just really tried to get it right for all kids. And because I know from my life experience that education can be transformative. And if you get the right education, you can live out your wildest dreams, right? And so here I am. So that's a little bit about me. And when I think about the great District 9 here, man, oh man, you are home to a proud historic communities such as Clinton, Upper Marlboro, Brandywine, places that are grounded in tradition, family legacy, and you've got a lot of new development happen there, which creates opportunity and a new sense of community pride. I mean, you look at places like Gwen Park High School, where we see our students gaining real world experiences, ranging from public safety to environmental science. The school is home to one of our 2-year fire science cadet programs. And I can tell you, back in 2016, I was the one who got that started back then. So I can remember working to get that up and going. So it's great to know 9 years later, it's still there. Beginning in 11th grade, cadets train under certified Prince George's Fire Department instructors in both classroom and hands-on settings. It prepares them for careers in firefighting, emergency, and the emergency medical sciences. And I think what a great opportunity to serve and to give students early an opportunity to learn about service, and that there's just a great joy in being a public servant. Graduates have gone on to pursue degrees in biology, nursing, pre-medicine, and public health, while others have went directly into the workforce as EMTs or public safety professionals. Gwinnett Park also offers a wide range of CTE, that is, career and technical education programs, including computer science, agricultural science, environmental studies, and culinary arts. That hands-on learning continues at CMIT, Academy South, one of our charter schools down there, which is a 4-star school on the Maryland report card. There, students both at the elementary, middle, and high school campuses engage in STEM instruction and real-world problem solving. On the joint base of Andrews, you have another strong charter school. That's Imagine Andrew Public Charter School, which offers military families a high-quality on-base education option that combines academics with a culture of leadership and service. And of course, we've got Frederick Douglass High School, right? It's one of the county's first high schools for African American students, which is rooted in deep community ties, partnership, and legacy. Douglass offers the coveted International Baccalaureate degree or diploma, and also a number of advanced placement courses. And they also have a P-TECH program, which allows students to earn both a high school diploma and an associate's degree at no cost while gaining real-world experience. And I really hope families understand that opportunity. I mean, growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to be in high school and actually get 2 years of college for free. Like that is a game changer, and it's something that I know I want to really push and expand this year, because when kids get opportunities to get college credits, they know that they can do it, and it defrays the ultimate cost for them. So the fact that you have that at Frederick Douglass is something that parents should be aware of and be asking questions about on how to get in, because again, it's a game changer for your children. But then we've got Surrattsville High School, which also has strong outcomes. I mean, that class of 2025 earned more than $3 million in scholarships. I'm gonna say that again, $3 million in scholarships, and 7 students made history by earning the Maryland Seal of Biliteracy for language fluency. I mean, that's just an amazing, amazing accomplishment. And the school's unified track team also made headlines, capturing the Division II state championship, bringing home a major win for the Hornet community. So you've got lots of great options. I just named a few. Yeah, I know we only have an hour and a half, so I wish I could just, take the full hour and a half just telling you about all the great things in all of your schools. But let me move on so I can answer some of your questions. But before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about construction and what's happening in your neck of the woods. I mean, as you know, we have some of the oldest stock of facilities in the state of Maryland. I mean, we have the second oldest stock, and more than half of our facilities are 50 years old. Fact is, we've got an $8 billion maintenance backlog, which I know can be frustrating for families, and it's something that the county has worked to try to address. To move faster, we've launched a multi-track strategy that blends our traditional capital improvement monies with a blueprint schools program, and we call that P3. That's a public-private partnership that cuts school construction times nearly in half. Next week, we're extremely excited that we're going to be breaking ground on the new Brandywine Area Academy, which is a part of the Blueprint Schools Phase 2 program. The school will serve students in grades 3 through 8 in a state-of-the-art facility located behind the current Gwen Park Middle School. That school is scheduled to open in 2027, 2028. So we're about 2 years off for that school to open. In addition, in your area, James Madison Middle School recently had a major renovation with completed replacements of your HVAC system. A roof replacement and modular additions are underway now and scheduled for completion prior to the opening of school. So that'll be great. And finally, the William Schmidt Outdoor Education Center, also known as Camp Schmidt, is undergoing a $50 million modernization and expansion. And we hope for that to be completed in the spring of 2026. So that's some of the stuff that's happening up in your neck of the woods. I can remember uh, being up there visiting One Park 9 years ago and also visiting Akakeek Academy. And I remember you've got two different schools at Akakeek. So I remember getting on a little golf course, golf cart, I'm sorry, and going back and forth between the schools. So I know where you are very well. I think that's one of the benefits of coming back as interim. I've got some old memory mass here working for me, and that the Lord knows that's helped me out in these past 30 days. But Dr. Love, I know that there are some questions that our families have for me, so why don't we get cracking on them?
There are, and let's go ahead and jump in. I would be remiss if I didn't say there are over 120
Good
participants here with
Lord.
us
So look,
tonight on a Friday, Dr. Joseph. So they
listen,
want to hear
look,
from you in District 9.
I know how District 9 do. They've been waiting. They said, "Oh, we've been watching, we've been waiting. We saved us for last. Don't go nowhere. You got time. So come on."
Wow. They are here. All right. So our first question, Dr. Joseph, and this one speaks to the mental health program. An attendee asks, why don't students have a therapist anymore? She was very useful for this particular school community when they had a student who passed away.
Yeah. Well, I know Prince George's County has invested in a number of mental health services. I mean, of course, the board has approved increases in counselors, psychologists, nurses, clinicians, pupil personnel workers, and community coordinators. We have support virtually that's free through Hazel Health and through a Prosper app. And the board has also made, excuse me, some new investments, right? In 2024, we had a $25 million grant from the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission, and we expanded partnerships with 18 local health providers. And coming soon, there are going to be wellness centers open in partnership with Children's National Hospital. And they're slated are at Colin Powell Academy, Bladensburg, Fairmont Heights, Northwestern, Oxon Hill, as well as Drew Fearman, Hyattsville, Kenmore, Sonia Sotomayor, and Walker Mill Middle School, with the goal to have access over the course of 3 years. So we've got lots of investments, but if there's a need, definitely let us know, and we'll work to provide it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. The next question is around our school buildings and facilities. What is your plan for the school buildings that are plagued with mold, are in disrepair, and have maybe been neglected for a really long time?
Yeah, if we have mold issues, we should know. I mean, we do environmental, we can do environmental testing to mitigate mold. I mean, we shouldn't just have mold not addressed because it does cause health issues. Again, we have an $8 billion maintenance backlog. I mean, that's an issue. We've got old buildings, but just because they're old does not mean they shouldn't be healthy, and we've got a responsibility to make sure they're healthy. So if you have concerns and you think that there's mold or something, please let us know. We'll go get it tested. And if we do find mold, we must mitigate.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joseph. Our next question comes from Mrs. Samantha Howard, and she asks, given the rapid growth of the Latino student population in our county, that is in other areas, in all areas of the county, not just in the north, How do you plan to address their unique needs, particularly around language, cultural inclusion, and academic support? And what steps will you take to ensure that their families are also meaningfully engaged in the school system?
Yeah, we're about 40% Latino right now. I'm aware of that, and it's one of my district priorities. I'm going to be next week. I get to speak with all principals, and one of the things I'm talking about, in addition to special education, is our multilingual students, particularly our Spanish students. About 85% of students receiving English language development in our district are Spanish speakers. And so we've got to be committed to supporting them and their families. All systemic communications to families are delivered in Spanish here, which is our largest multilingual population. We do have historically have had an annual Latino Education Summit to talk about what we can do to support our Latino families. We also have Spanish language interpreting and translation services, and last year, we fulfilled 19,000 requests. Spanish language, we have a Spanish language social media account to keep families connected in their languages. And we also have international parent leadership consortiums to help build up parent leaders in our Latino community. And then we have an annual bilingual college access event for Latino families in collaboration with the University of Maryland and other local partners to get our students on campuses, to help them understand and how to navigate the pathway to higher education. So, there's much more we can do. Actually, to last week, I believe, or this week on Monday, I met with our Hispanic delegation from the state, and they expressed concerns with the lagging performance of our Latino students, and it's a priority for me. I've created a new associate superintendent for innovation and performance to look at our lowest performing schools because we have a number of our schools that are on that list of lowest performing schools in the state that have high populations of Latino learners. So, I've got to roll up my sleeves to really understand the why of the performance. I do know at the high school level, we've got over 40% of kids who are chronically absent, meaning they're out at least 18 days or more. 40% in our high school. That's significant. And in our highly Latino populations, namely particularly in the north, I mean, in Bladensburg, at Hyattsville, we see large numbers of students just not showing up to school. And so we've got to figure out the why on that. We've got to lock in on our plans, and we've got to continue to engage our families, our nonprofits, and all those who care to ensure we can do better. But we've got tremendous work to do. I know that, and I'm committed to doing that work. We've had gains in recent years. I mean, we had a 12 percentage point increase in the graduation rate from 60% to 71%. And we also saw a 14.6 percentage point gain in our multilingual language learners achievement levels, but it's still low, and it's still lower than the average of other student populations. So we'll continue to work and communicate. I know, since I've been here, I've been on Telemundo and some other areas just to begin to engage, and I'll be working with our local nonprofits and leaders to better connect with our Latino families and just know and work with them to raise levels of achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for that solid response. We are definitely one PGCPS. We have guest Snotty, who is asking a question about high school freshmen. Are high school freshmen able to join clubs, or is it only open to upper class students?
Yeah, freshmen can join clubs.
All right. Our next question is, well, it's actually a comment welcoming you back to PGCPS. This parent is writing with some, again, some urgent concerns around facilities. They have a child in an elementary school in District 9. that they frequently come home smelling of mold. I know that you mentioned that these are circumstances that you will address, that the system will address. They're also mentioning some persistent ceiling leaks and regular classroom displacements that disrupt students' learning. So beyond the building, also areas of the playground. So when we think about the entirety of the plan, what is the plan to address some of these critical repair needs as a whole, so that our students and staff are in a safe and healthy environment?
Yeah, so the board has a capital improvement plan and budget, and that delineates what are the, where we're going next in terms of repairs. Again, knowing we have an $8 billion backlog, I mean, that's the issue. We've got to work to figure that out. Things like mold and things. I mean, the problem is when you got old buildings, and you have old roofs, water gets in, and water is disastrous and creates the mold. And so, but we've got to mitigate. I mean, when if you know or smell or sense that there's mold, please let us know, and we've got to get people out there. I mean, that's a safety issue, and so we've got to prioritize funds to address that. As it relates to the maintenance challenges, I mean, we've got to continue to advocate at the state level. We've got to continue to work with our county to get funds. I mean, the more funds we get, the more we can prioritize towards fixing this stuff. But again, an $8 billion backlog doesn't just go away overnight, unfortunately. It's going to require collective effort, and that's gonna require a county-wide approach, as for us to make inroads there.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joseph. We have Mrs. Janelle Smalls, and she has a question around staffing. So, what is your plan for recruiting and retaining certified teachers?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been on it. The good news is, over the past month, I've seen tremendous numbers of people coming to our job fairs, and we've got to work to get our folks hired. Right now, we've got a 92% fill rate in teachers, but again, we're a district that hires about 1,000 people a year, so there's still vacancies. We will have vacancies at the start of the school year, but we're going to make sure we do better communicating where those areas are. We're also going to work to look internally at our virtual schools, and if we don't have a certified teacher that's there, what are the options for virtual teachers to be able to come in? I know our culture has to improve. I think people leave when they don't feel valued, or when they don't feel support. And so a big part of my messaging at the beginning of this year, and actions, I mean, I'm working right now with our Office of Employee Benefits, to make sure we're being intentional about mental wellness of staff, as well as working closely with PGCEA and all of our unions to figure out what are the um, cultural conditions, what are the challenges right now that we can help kind of, take the load off of our staff, and seeing how we can do that effectively. But we have recruiting plans and strategies. Um, we've got to, and I know that the state has some new opportunities that we need to explore. But we're the 17th largest school district in the country. We hire thousands of employees. We've got 20,000. So I think the best thing we can do is, for recruitment and retention, is treat the staff we have well, because they will be our greatest recruiters.
Absolutely. Our staff are one of our greatest assets. Okay, our next question is from a guest that is asking about how many families in the county do choose to send their children to private schools. And we know that some of the most involved and potentially affluent parents will continue to inevitably make that choice. So, given that this is often a reality, what specific steps will you take to build confidence, continue to build confidence in PGCPS, so that more families, including those who do consider private, are encouraged to entrust their students here in the public schools?
Yeah, two things. Two things. One, we got to open our schools. I think a lot of families who send their kids to private schools haven't been in our schools, but they've got a myth that things don't go well. I'll give you a perfect example. Last weekend, I was at a funeral actually, and it was a funeral, and I was here in Prince George's County at down at uh, what is it, Church of the Living God out in Hyattsville. And a parent, his name was Emmanuel, came up to me and said, "Hey, you're the new guy, right?" I said, "I feel old, but if you call me new, I appreciate it." And he said, "Yeah, I got a kid who would go to one of our schools." And said, "But we don't go there because I heard you can't get a good." He said, "I heard you can't get a good education in Prince George's County, and I'm spending $52,000 a year, to send my kids to a private school." My response to him was, first, I asked him at the school. He told me, and I said, "Well, I happen to know because I've been doing these listen and learns, and I highlighted the school you named, that the students there got $8 million in scholarships last year, and they've got all these programs." And I said, "So, you're spending $50,000 a year to send your kids to a school, and uh, have not walked in the building where, kids must be doing something right because they got $8 million in scholarships." All right. And I said, "So think about it. If you got 50,000 a year to spend times 12 is about $600,000. If you'd have put that in a mutual fund for your kids and got, average return on investment, by the time your kids are ready to go to college, they'd be close to millionaires. And you got to ask yourself, if we're sending our kids to, some of the greatest universities in the country, Harvard, Princeton, Howard, Bowie, Morgan University in Maryland, Lincoln's, you name it, Johns Hopkins, you know, and our kids are going the same places you're going. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to reinvest? I think we've got to get parents back in our schools just to see what's there to make an informed choice. Like I'm a proponent of choice. I think parents should send their kids wherever they think their kid's going to be loved on and educated and prepared. And we've just got to make our schools uh, that viable option for them, or at least for them to come. So my goal this year is, and I'm going to communicate to principals about this. We're gonna try to set up some times in each of our schools for parents, just open days for parents to be able to come in and community members to come in and just see what's what, like make an informed decision. I think we got to do that, and I think we've got to be conscious that we've got perceptional problems, right? Like I don't, you can't manage a secret, and so we've got to let people get out and see what's there. I think that's really important. Um, and two, I think we have to improve our customer service. Like we've just got to pay attention to the little details. Um, because parents make decisions based upon lots of different things. I mean, I pay attention to the feel of a building when I walk in. I mean, you feel it, you see it. We already, I think, are at a bit of a disadvantage in many communities, quite frankly, because our buildings are old. So people already have feelings about sending their kids into an older building. So that older building has to be clean, right? It has to feel safe. Like, I heard the parent loud and clear today that said her kid comes home smelling like mold. I mean, I wouldn't send my kid to a school that smells like mold. So us as a organization need to address that issue. So we've got to do our part. We've got to let parents in, and then they at least make an informed decision. But I know I'm one who has thought a lot about creating generational wealth, and I'm mindful. If I can get the same opportunity and same quality, and not pay for it, or pay for it through my taxes, then we should be doing that and teaching families about the power of investing for their children and their futures. And I think we're gonna have that message and go out. But we've got to get our house in order, and parents. I don't blame parents for not choosing us, but if we get our stuff right and they choose another option for whatever reason that is, then I can respect that.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for that thorough answer. We have an attendee who is mentioning that this is their family's second year here in PGCPS, And do you have a plan to extend school hours? Schools are dismissing in the 1 o'clock hour, and they're concerned that parents are working full time and it makes it hard for scheduling.
I don't have a plan for that right now, and I've not talked to the board about those issues.
Okay, our next question, thank you for that. This question is about special education, Dr. Joseph. We have a parent who is expressing that they've experienced several unfortunate issues around the IEP process and the interventions, some concerns around her son's interventions. Do you have a plan to encourage more teacher and parent connection around special education and improving the processes?
Yeah. Couple things. One, I special education will be a top priority. It has to be. It's something I've said over and over. I mean, I've spoken to my team multiple times about it. I've met with um, Dr. Bowman, who's the head of special education, because we're in corrective action right now, primarily because of staffing issues. We had, I believe, over 400 special education vacancies, and then paraeducator vacancies, and that was a challenge for us. You know, when the teachers aren't there, you're going to have compliance issues and follow up issues. So, well, I've been monitoring our special education staffing now. We're putting out some data dashboards. I mean, some dashboards to monitor publicly. You know where we are. There are a couple things that we need to do. You know, we've got 24 schools right now who are in the lowest performing schools in the state. 20 of them have special education challenges, and we've got to make sure we staff them and focus. Um, I think some of the problem, I don't know how we haven't been as coordinated in our services, and I'm making sure our special education educating special education students is more than just the special education's department's responsibility. It's the entire school's responsibility, and it's our school system's responsibility. So I'm looking at where we need to reappropriate resources to provide additional resources to our special education students, and we have to make sure that those IEPs are in compliance and we're following through on them. I mean that it's the law, and I'm not going to be one to break the law, and so we're going to look to continue to see how we can utilize our Title I dollars, our community schools dollars, and our general fund to give special education students more support as we move forward. And we have a special education parent advisory group, and I want to work closely with them this year to understand the issues firsthand and better work. But we've got to increase accountability and increase support as it relates to special education. But it will be a priority. And I've already spoken with Dr. Bowman about facilitating some special education specific community forums where we can go out and just talk directly to families and build relationship and better hold ourselves and the school system accountable.
Thank you,
Uh,
Dr. Joseph. And to that point, there is one of those that will be happening later this month, a special education forum.
yes, August 14th.
There
Yes,
we go.
there's an
Uh,
August 14th special education forum. Yes.
all right. The next question is around curriculum. And considering the recent Supreme Court decision that we've seen affect our neighbors in Montgomery County regarding parents of elementary students being able to opt out of curriculum that doesn't align with their religious beliefs, what is the PGCPS policy on this, and will similar policies be allowed here?
Yeah. I mean, when you have a Supreme Court law, you have to follow suit. So we will, we should give parents the option to have curriculum aligned to their religious beliefs. I think that's important that you know, the opt out policies should be in effect. I've not heard from our curriculum department um, that we had lots of concerns with parents opting out, but we should have provisions for them to be able to do so if they come across content that they feel compromises their faith.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Our next question, we'll do one more question before we go into the 100-day plan. The next question is a parent who has concerns about her sixth grade child not being able to learn Spanish as a foreign language because they're not in the talented and gifted tag program, and that only tag students are offered foreign language. This parent believes that all students should have access to foreign language instruction. So, what can be done to offer foreign language instruction at the middle school level for everyone?
I'll have to investigate that. I agree with the parent. I think all children, you shouldn't have to be, considered gifted to learn a second language. I think a second language is almost a standard now. So if we're not offering that, that's something I can look into. Of course, it wouldn't take effect until the following year, because it just takes time to get the course codes, get everything up, get it offered, but I'd be committed to offering, that at the middle school and having it open access and an expectation.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. So we're going to go ahead and advance the slide and move into the 100-day plan.
Yeah, so very quickly, my 100-day plan wasn't meant to be comprehensive. It was just a way for me to come in, be focused, be publicly accountable, and move us forward with a sense of urgency and focus. So I just had 6 areas there, but knowing when we move away from this 100 days, my first 100 days, we're going to move right into a strategic planning process. And the strategic planning process will be much more comprehensive and will have things like safety and security, which I know are important to our community, and accelerating opportunities for gifted, which I know is another piece. That's not those aren't things that I have in my 100-day plan, but I know they're things that as we move to as we move to a strategic planning process, and as we align to ensure that we're addressing the Maryland blueprint for our future, that we're aggressive. So in my first 100 days, though, what I thought as I was coming in was first, I've got to work with the board to just make sure we're aligned with what is the vision for Prince George's County? What's the vision, mission, core values? What do we care about? What KPIs are we monitoring? And how are we going to do our work? So my first 100 days is really about that. And, part of it, quite frankly, the challenge we've had thus far, our board, they take a break. They work so hard during the course of the school year. So my first 100 days, they've been on vacation. So some of the stuff I haven't got done yet, but we have been in communications. And as soon as they come back on in the next week or so, we're really going to lock in to just be clear about what we're working towards. I mean, that's really important. As we move to goal area 2, that's about talent and getting the best, most capable people here in our district. When I got here 3 weeks ago, we were having challenges with our contract negotiations and things of that nature. And now we have tentative agreements with all of our units. So I'm hoping to establish strong relationships with all of our employee organizations, but then really locking in on how do we get the best and brightest here and how do we keep them here. So looking at our onboarding experiences, our culture, being clear about where we have vacancies and aggressively working to target those vacancies is the work that we really have to prioritize in my first 100 days. As I go to goal area 3, we are focused on the academics. Right now, I have our accountability department looking through all of our schools, all 208 of our schools' data, because the essential question that I have is for students who have been in school most of the time, are they making adequate growth in our schools? And I'm going to put that out to families. I mean, I think there are places where you'll see students exceeding expected growth. You'll see places where they're meeting expected growth, and we're going to see places where students aren't making expected growth. I think it's important that we know that, and that because that helps us prioritize where we put our resources, our strategy, our energy, and where do we need the greatest improvement. One of the big challenges we have as, one of the largest districts in the nation with, over 140 different countries represented here, is we've got lots of kids that come into our schools with lots of different levels of, achievement and lots of kind of complex histories. And the question for us, because we take any child that walks in our doors, is, a good school system should accelerate growth. So if a student is in seventh grade, but they come in at a third grade reading level, we should expect by the end of the year with instruction that they're at least at the fourth or fifth grade reading level or beyond, or accelerating them more. I want to know if that's happening, and you can use, and I won't get into the complex nature of predictive analyses and statistical analyses, but I can look at a student's scores, previous scores on previous academics, and be able to determine the rate of growth we should see. So I'm doing that on all of our schools in reading and math because I want to know where the problem areas are, if there are any in the system. We're also looking at our neediest schools right now. I mean, I've reorganized in this first 100 days already to create a new innovation and performance area for our neediest schools where we know we need work and growth. I want to put thought around how do we have high accountability and high support in those areas. And so I've been looking to do that. And then also, we spend a lot of money in our district. We're a multi-billion-dollar entity. We buy a lot of stuff, and we don't measure the stuff we buy. And so I'm locking in particularly on the federal dollars, our Title I dollars and our community schools dollars, to ask the question, how do we know we're getting a return on investment, meaning we're getting some improvement for the dollars that we're spending? That's really important. And so I'm looking at what we're spending on to determine whether we should continue spending on it as it relates to our academic performance and growth. I mean, so that's what I've been working on, and I've just been immersed in our data right now. I mean, I read data reports daily, just trying to understand the school system, asking lots of questions and focusing on things as we've been going. So that's what I've been focused on in Area 3. As we move at Priority Area 4, we're blessed to be in Maryland because our state legislature has and our governor have put $3 billion additional dollars in public education in the 24 counties in Maryland. And because we're the second largest county, we get a lot of money coming from the state to help us move forward in the areas of early learning, helping teachers with career advancement, focusing on CTE and college readiness. So the blueprint for Maryland's future is something all districts are expected to be working towards. Well, we had the blueprint that came out, and then we had a strategic plan. And right now, we're functioning with two separate plans, and I think there are bound to be execution problems when you do that. So one of the things I'm looking at in this area is how are we aligning what the blueprint is requiring versus what we said we wanted to do? How do we make it one? So as I said, when we move into that strategic planning process, you know, our goal is to ensure that we are addressing the Maryland blueprint, the blueprint for Maryland's future. But that's a floor. I mean, I think we've got to have bold visions and bold goals for what we want to accomplish as Prince George's County Public Schools. And so right now, I'm just looking at the alignment and meeting with our internal people as well as state folks. I mean, I was at the state earlier this week talking about this, and then I met with the head of our blueprint work, Dr. Kyra Libby, just today, making sure that there is alignment. As we move into Area 5, I mean, this is where I started with family engagement. It's amazing that so many of you are here tonight. I mean, we've got 142 people on this call. We've engaged over the course of the past 3 weeks here, over 1,000 families. And I think that's a good a good sign to start. But we've got 130,000 families here. I want to make sure families know you have a voice, that somebody is listening and responding to what it is you say we need to do. I think we have to look at some policy as it relates to parents, and I think we have to create an infrastructure for parents to, one, give us feedback on all aspects of our work, and two, support us with advocacy as we work to get garner resources here locally at the state level, and then advocating federally. In this first 100 days, I'm really putting a lot of effort and time and intentionality in working, one, with our parents, but two, also working with our principals to make sure our schools are welcoming to you. And so we'll be looking at that. And then finally, area six is operations. I mean, we've like I said, we've already said we've got old buildings, but those old buildings need to be clean. They need to be safe. Now we need to make sure that we're just paying attention to the little details, because they make a big difference as parents decide whether to bless us with the opportunity to serve them or not. So I'm paying attention to just making sure, yeah, just the basics. I mean, this is just operate. Baby six is just getting down to the basics, making sure schools have the materials that they need, the supplies that they need to make sure the buildings are safe, healthy, and they can learn. So I've been locked in on that. So those are the 6 areas that I've focused on, as I come in. But again, as we get through the 100 days, I'll know that you'll get a report from me at board meetings on the first 30 days, kind of what I've observed, when we get to the 60 days, and then when I get to the final 100, the so what of it all, and we'll take all of those learnings and move them into a strategic planning process. So that's all I got to say about that, Dr. Love.
All right, so we are going to jump right back in. As you know, we have a number of
Because
questions
I still got about 150 more questions. So I know.
on a Friday night.
Not a problem.
Well, everyone knows what the most important group are, and that is our students. So here we go. We have a question about transportation coming in, and this is around the Stop Finder app. And the parent wants to know, has the app been updated to accurately reflect the location of our children, to inform parents of changes regarding bus routes? And also, will the app be programmed to alert parents of accidents or incidents?
Yeah. So we're going to move away from Stop Finder. We're going to start with it at the beginning of this year, but we're transitioning to a new app called Chipmunk. We're going to start Chipmunk with our special education students to start, but we're aggressively going to try to move to, you know, rolling Chipmunk out. And getting rid of the Stop Finder. What Chipmunk will offer is better bus tracking, better estimated time of arrival, and better accuracy to reduce uncertainty. We've added 1,000 additional tablets to our buses to try to increase the GPS functionality. We have also are going to be piloting transportation hubs at 3 of our specialty schools, which we hope will reduce rider times and punctuality. We hope this new app is better. We heard the frustration with Stop Finder, and we have to phase out because we're so large. I mean, we're one of the largest bus fleets in the United States. I don't know if people realize that. We have 137 bus vacancies right now, but we have over 1,000 bus drivers. It's going to be challenges again this year, unfortunately, because with 137 vacancies, you're looking at about 700 routes that are going to be impacted. And where August 8th is when we allow our drivers to select their routes. And after that point, we'll know what vacant routes we have. And we're going to work to communicate to families in those affected areas about the impact in terms of times and so forth as we move forward. Buses are a complex issue because it takes about 6 weeks to get somebody from the time we say we're going to hire you to getting you trained and ready to go to actually be on the field, to be in the bus and be able to drive safely. So we'll be challenged, but we've been working hard um, to get ourselves in position, and you'll be seeing lots of communications about transportation as we move into this beginning of the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. As you may know, this is a question around our humanitarian immigrant refugee population. That the Afghan population in Maryland, we have we're the largest recipients of Afghans in the state. The community member is asking, with that population growing, many families face challenges connecting with the school system, and it sometimes makes it difficult for them to navigate the system. How can you offer information to help support their integration and ensure that they have equitable access to resources and opportunities?
I'm aware that over the past few years, we've had over 6,000 Afghan refugees resettled in this area, receiving the fifth highest number of Afghans in the country. And Prince George's has become home to the largest Afghan, refugee resettlement in Maryland. We have a newcomers office to support them, and we can translate to be able to support the language. So I think we have to work with our Afghan community to help them understand the resources that are available for us to help them. But we're open, and I think the newcomers office is a great place to start. And I'm sure Dr. Love, you can give more information on this if I've missed something.
Surely. So, the Language Access Office absolutely has interpreting and translation resources to support families in bridging that communicative gap so that language is not a barrier. And Dr. Joseph, you're right on track. Our ISEO office, the International Student Admissions and Enrollment Office, as well as our ELD, English Language Development Office, have integrated family engagement supports. So, we are definitely on the mark there and will continue to do this important work in integrating our families.
And what I'll say is, right now, since I've been here 30 days, and I really, to be honest with you, I just learned of how large our Afghan population is here. If there are, nonprofits or Afghan leaders that I can connect with to help get the message out and help us work in partnership, I'd be more than open to do so. So if yeah, anybody wants to reach out, they can reach out to superintendent at pgcps.org with that type of information, and I'll make sure the right people on my team connect with them to ensure that we're working in partnership. To help people navigate our system, which can be very difficult to navigate if you don't know how to manage it.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. The next question from an attendee is around charter schools. Can you provide an update on how PGCPS will continue to partner financially per pupil for charter schools? As you know, District 9 is home to CMIT South campuses that would be impacted by any fiscal changes.
Yeah, so right now our charter funding is mandated. The state gives us criteria, and we follow that. I did have an opportunity to meet with all of our charter school CMO leaders, maybe two weeks ago, in my office, and I had an opportunity to visit a charter school while I was here. I personally have a history of working collaboratively with charter schools. I think we should learn from them, and I think they can learn from us. And I know that there are fiscal challenges, and what I would say, because I know when I met with the charter leaders, one of the concerns that they brought to me was that, they believe they're not funded appropriately, because I think they get about 12,000 some odd dollars per pupil, and the system may have 20,000 per pupil. But I think the difference in the cost are the fact that I think, we handle a lot of their services. So we do all of their special education services, human resources services, academic supports and things of that nature. So the difference in cost is associated with the services that are just provided to them. The state of Maryland has our charter schools kind of partner in line with the school system, and my commitment is to continue to collaborate and work with them. I mean, we want charter schools like CMIT that are doing well to continue to do well and continue to provide supports to our students. And so there's a commitment from my end to do that and to increase the collaboration.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We still have several more questions. This is a question.
AKA quick.
This is a question around safety and security. So the question is what are we doing about students who may be engaging in illegal activity at school?
Yeah, they shouldn't. They won't be in our schools if they do that. We got to make sure our schools are safe. We got to make sure while we want to support kids and while we want to give them chances, you shouldn't have to tell a kid not to bring a gun or a knife to school or not to bring drugs to a school. If you do that, you demonstrate you shouldn't be there.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We have Ms. Yakisha Poole, who has a question about growing concern around what are perceived to be fraudulent registrations, which appears to be increasing classroom sizes. What are your thoughts on this, and how will you overall address overcrowding, especially with some of the growing residential developments in District 9?
Yeah, I haven't heard about fraudulent registration, so I don't know how to answer that question. In terms of overcrowding, when we have processes to monitor our school enrollment, and we look at boundary options and alternative options when we're overcrowded. People hate boundary changes, but sometimes they're just necessary, and if that's necessary then we'll have to work closely with the community to come up with options and to resolve those problems.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Our next question comes around teachers, and it's asking about addressing some of the chronic teacher absences that may be resulting in some lost instructional time.
Yeah, yeah. Teacher absences are as bad as student absences. Like I said, we're at 40% of um, students being chronically absent, meaning missing 18 or more days. I don't know where we are with teacher chronic absenteeism, but it's something that we must monitor. And I think you know our newest teachers have a different mentality. Once upon a time, folks were committed to coming in and they rarely took off. Now you give someone 10 to 20 days a year and they feel like they should use all 10 to 20 days for mental health reprieve. I think we've got to help teachers understand the importance of them being there. I think we've got to, address cultural stuff and focus on mental wellness for them to be there. But we have to address, just chronic absenteeism with teachers, just like we do with students, because that, like was shared, if we don't, it will impact achievement.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Our next question is around your tenure. Do you plan to stay in this position? Are you going to request to stay in the district?
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. What I'll say is, so I'm on leave from Howard right now, and I put in my tenure application as I exited, so that's moving through. I've got to work with the board and the community and just see if it's a right fit, for both of us. Just to be, 100% honest. I mean, I came back because there's a commitment to this community, for sure. Um, but the average tenure of a superintendent in this country is 3 years. The average tenure for a Black superintendent is a little less than 2 years, like 1.9, to 2 years. That's what my research was on, at Howard. It's a tough job. I was laughing with our director of communications when I came in and said, man, this pace is different from being a college professor, but I love it. I mean, I love it. I'm here. I'm energized. I think, I'll know for sure by December. I mean, I'll come into the new school year pretty with real clarity after being here, for 6 months, knowing what the next steps will be. If not me, I mean, I've worked to look at great capacity internally, and I've brought great staff on board already. I worked for the largest search firm in the country, and worked to support uh, placing some of the superintendents in the largest districts in the country. I recently did the superintendent search for Las Vegas, which is Clark County. They're the fifth largest district in the country. So Dr. Joan Ebert, I helped bring her there. I did Atlanta Public School search that brought Brian Johnson there, and Montgomery, Alabama's that brought Zacchaeus Bird there, Rochester, New York, that brought Eric Rosser there, Patterson, New Jersey, that brought Lori Newell there. I say that to say, if by some chance I didn't, I could help support identifying great talent. But right now I'm loving what I'm doing. We'll just have to see if the match goes. It's like we're in this dating phase right now, and I'll know by December if I'm gonna pull the ring out or not, to at least be a full suitor to request uh request the hand of marriage of Prince George's County. We'll see.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Well, we are glad to have you here in
Yeah,
this honeymoon phase.
yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from Anthony Harris.
Yeah.
And this is a transportation concern that oftentimes the bus does not come or occurs so much that they have to plan for it as a family. So his question is around customer service and how can the customer service aspect of transportation be improved? Um, they've just had lots of scrambling and issues with trying to get their children to school due to bus issues.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things the board in the previous administration already did was they approved the doubling. So we doubled the amount of customer service staff we have in the transportation office to support answering the phones, because we know that that's a big deal. We also hired non-CDL van drivers to and expanded contracted services to help support with some of the route vacancies we had. We're working to accelerate hiring and training to fill vacancies right now. You should be hearing on the radio, hopefully next week, our desire to get more drivers. And right now, like I said, we have 130, we're 137 down, and we're really stressing the benefits package that we have in the school system. I mean, drivers make anywhere from 20 to $43 an hour, but we think the real benefit is our benefits. I mean, they're exceptional, and so if we have entrepreneurs or people who are in service jobs who want to come over to get a better benefits package, I mean, it's a great option, but we've been putting that out there for folks to help us. Finding we've got to get our staffing, and we're working hard to do that. But one of the things that also we're going to do, we're going to be sending out cards with QR codes that will give families more real-time information about what's happening. And again, after August 8th, once we know what routes are going to be affected, we're going to proactively do a better job communicating and highlighting that so parents can be aware of what the implications are if there are challenges. So, you know, uh, I know that there are going to be some challenges. And so, what I have been stressing to our staff is that we've got to just communicate better so families are aware. I think what makes it hard is when you expect something and then you get a different outcome. Well, we're going to be doing our best to make sure we're communicating effectively what the potential issues are in advance, so parents can work to at least be prepared to make an adjustment, and if an adjustment needs to be made.
Thank you for that response, Dr. Joseph. We have a next question that's from Kwesi Edun, and the question is around the use of artificial intelligence, AI.
Mhm.
So what's the current thinking on the use of AI as students are navigating the space in which they're using it for classroom assignments, and the same with the use of phones.
Yeah, AI, we need to teach students how to use it responsibly, but I think it's our responsibility to do that. I mean, I know we're going to be piloting a number of different AI technologies in the district right now, to see how we can use it and what are some of the best technologies that are out there. But I think we must embrace it. AI is the new cell phone. I mean, it's going to transform how we function, sort of like how the iPhone did for how we communicate as it relates to phones in the district right now. The system has allowed different schools to pilot and make those decisions on their own. I do think you know as a district we should probably have a consistent message, and so that'll be some conversations that I know we have with the board coming up. Now that everybody's piloted in different places and spaces, we should have a lot of data to be able to figure out how to best move forward. I mean, some states, when you look at the state of it, some states have just banned it altogether because quite frankly, we have all the technology we need. I mean, we're a one-on-one school district with technology since the pandemic. So technically, kids don't need phones to engage in schools, and phones can be a major distraction. But I think we have to have conversations with the board and conversations with the community, and then have a decision. But I do think there should be some consistency across the district in what we're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We're going to be winding down momentarily. I know that some of the questions that may not have been answered will have an opportunity to be answered either through emails to your team or visiting one of our upcoming engagement sessions that will be in person in the various
Yeah, yeah. I
districts.
strongly encourage parents to come out in person, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered. And in person, I promise you, I won't leave. We'll answer all your questions. Um,
All
but
right.
like on a Friday night tonight, we might have to wrap it.
And we're still holding strong, over 130. Okay. We have a few more questions, Dr. Joseph. One question is around funding. Funding for all of the plans that you've mentioned, when we're talking about a wide variety of plans for the district. Considering that there have been budget and supply cuts, where do you anticipate funds will come from, and how can families and the community advocate?
Yeah, so for my 100-day plan, it wasn't funding intensive. It was really me listening and learning and understanding. I think once I connect with the board and we identify what we want to do first, second, and third and lay out our vision, I'm sure there'll be funding requirements there. One of the things we're committed to getting up are, our parent councils again. We need to have a strong Prince George's County parent council, one where there are representatives from every one of our districts, and that connects our parent teacher organizations in a way where we can advocate in force. And so, working to do that. I mean, right now, we just got our other federal dollars. They just came into the district or into the state this week. So I don't have an update on what the losses were. I just know that we lost 9% of our Title I dollars, which are our federal dollars, our primary federal dollars that support our neediest students. The district planned for a 20% cut. So, when you look at this last budget, we're not impacted any more than what we had anticipated, which is good news. But, and right, that's one of the reasons right now I'm looking at return on investment for the dollars we're spending, because we just got to make sure that the dollars we have we're using wisely. I can't say we're doing that right now. I think you know, I just think we got to be more conscious and discriminate in how we use dollars, and so know that I'm conscious about that, particularly in these times where I anticipate this is going to be another hard budget year because at the state level. We've already lost about $125 million in federal funding, and I know at the state level there was there have been major cuts, and we're going to feel those impacts this year. So yeah, you have my commitment that we'll use dollars wisely.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We have an attendee who is curious about school lunches, and do you foresee any changes or updates to food and nutrition services?
I've been speaking with our student board member about one having tastings with students. In Prince George's County, we manage our food services on our own internally. There are many districts that outsource it to lots of companies that can do that. I'm open to looking at multiple options to see what's best. I mean, I know there can be a lot. I've heard mixed messages about our food services and things. I think they should be healthy. I think they should taste good. And I think we should, do it in a way that gives kids healthy options, but varieties of foods from around the world, as we are a global school district in terms of the representation. And so I'm very open to exploring options, and I was going to work with our students to see ultimately, do they think it tastes good? If not, let's look at what other options there are. If so, let's expand it.
Okay, thank you. And I think this is going to be close to our last question. A question is asking, do you think that students in Prince George's County are able to compete favorably with students across the country, given the present educational curriculum that we have?
I do, but um, you got to trust but verify. I believe we do. One of the things I asked this week, I met with the state secretary of education this week, Dr. Carrie Wright, and one of the things I asked her to give us on August 8th when they give us our data files. I asked if we can get the de-identified data files for the entire state of Maryland, not just Prince George's County, because then I can run statistical analyses to see how our kids compete against other kids across the state. And then I can answer that question clearly. And then, as I look at some of the tests that we have, like one of the things I requested this year is that we give our kids reading and math tests that allow us to tell families how our kids are performing against kids in the state and in the nation. And so you'll be getting that this year because I think it's important for us to be able to say, Sean reads better than 80% of kids in the nation, or Sean reads worse than 80% of the kids in the nation as we lay out our plans. So that's going to happen this year, and parents will have that information. And once I have that data, I can truly answer that question. Now, I believe we can compete, but I'd rather have data to know we're competing. And right now, I just don't.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. And I think that this is a perfect question to close out for us this evening. It sounds like parents are fired up and eager to advocate. So what are your recommendations on how parents can really get in there to advocate for not only their child, but for their communities of children?
Yeah, so you should please stay tuned because we're going to be working aggressively with Dr. Sheila Jackson, who's the head of parent engagement here, again, to make sure all of our schools have strong parent-teacher organizations. At the next level, that we have at least cluster connections, and at the next level, we are engaged and have families engaged in our policy and the inner workings of what we're doing. So as we move into the legislative session, I would say working with your board representative, and I know, you know, Lolita is very active at the state level advocating. So I would say, particularly in District 9, working with your board representative to help us in Annapolis will be critical, and we'll, that's what I'm talking about in that area 5 of parent engagement. We've got to create an infrastructure because right now I don't think we have a very strong one. We do have a board advisory committee that works with the board who are parents, but it's just not enough. We need hundreds, thousands of people actively engaged, in knowing the needs of not only the entire district, but being able to articulate the unique needs of your particular community, because District 9 is dramatically different from the schools in the north in District 1. And so knowing the unique needs and being able to advocate and come together is going to be critical for us. But I promise you, we're going to have structures to hear you, to communicate with you, and to help you help us better advocate for your children.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. And we'd like to thank you so much and thank all of the families and community members. We have truly valued the time, everyone's questions, all of our community's ongoing partnership. And thank you, Board Member Walker, for being present. Please know how your voices are essential as we work together to strengthen our schools and support every student in their success. A tremendous thank you, of course, to Dr. Joseph, to the communications team, to the Department of Family and Community Partnerships, also our technology team and language access teams for their immense dedication making this come to fruition this evening for the District 9 community. We are going to close momentarily with a video, a brief video, and we ask also that you take some time to complete our evaluations. This helps us to plan and be prepared for future sessions and know exactly how we can best support the community as we continue on this journey for success for our students. Thank you again for joining us this evening, District 9. Please take a moment to complete the evaluation. The link is found in the chat. We look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday, August 16th at the Back to School Fair in preparation for students returning to school. Have a wonderful evening and weekend. Thank you again.